Shalom Avrim, James Trim here. Today I received a very interesting question from an individual who shall remain nameless. The question was, I have to ask a silly question. I feel strange asking this because I thought I knew for certain, but here it is. What does firmament mean according to Genesis 1:6-8? So much controversy about this right now, and I can't read Hebrew text. Can you give me a little insight, please? Thank you. Okay, so before we get going here, we're going to talk today about the firmament and what is the firmament. But before we get going, I need to ask you to please donate to support this work. For those that don't know, my wife is chronically ill. She's disabled. She suffers chronic pain. I am her at-home caretaker. In addition, I do these videos and online teaching on biblical topics and things of that nature. And the restoration of the ancient sect of the Nazarenes, the original Jewish followers of Yeshua, as the Jewish Messiah of Judaism, and the original Hebrew and Aramaic origin of the books of the New Testament, and all things related to a Jewish understanding of the scriptures in light of Yeshua as the Jewish Messiah of Judaism. So you can donate by sending donations by PayPal to donations at wnae.org, or by clicking on the donate link in the video description. From there you can donate by PayPal, Zelle, or GoFundMe. We do need to raise $250 by the end of the day today to cover bills that will be hitting our account tonight. So if you can donate, please do. Also want to ask everybody to like our videos, subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell so you get notified when new videos come out, and share these videos with your friends on social media. Let us know what you think in the comments. All right, so let's just get going here. So the word in question for firmament, in Genesis 1:14 we read, Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. The word is in Hebrew Rakia, and it comes from the root Rakia, which means to beat, to strike the earth with the feet, to spread out by beating, like a blacksmith would take some metal and spread it out by beating it with a hammer, to tread down, to overlay with a thin plate, to spread out the heavens. Now, so that's Jusinius' definition of the word. It's Strong's number 7549 if you want to research the word. That's the root that it comes from, the root verb. In Hebrew, words come from three-letter roots typically, and those three-letter roots are verbal roots. They're verbs. So the English word is firmament, which is related to our English word firm. And all of this has caused some people to think of the firmament as something solid because it's firm. It's something firmament. We derive that from the English word, and in the Hebrew, it's something that's spread out, and that comes from a verb root, meaning to beat something to make it thin and spread out like a plate. Okay? Now, we must always remember that there's a difference between the definition of a word and its etymology. So a root will have some relationship to the meaning of a word, but don't confuse the meaning of the word with its root. Okay? That's the first thing. So the Talmud says, there's a portion of Talmud, it's in, let's see here. It's in Tractate Hagiga 12b, and it's a portion of Talmud that describes why the word heaven in Hebrew is Shemaya. It's actually Shemayim. It's always in the plural. Shemayim. And the reason it's always in the plural is because there are multiple heavens. And there's a section of Talmud. In fact, Paul talks about having known a man that may have been himself that ascended to the third heaven. Okay, that's why there are physical heavens. Okay, so what is the word? What is this word? Rakia, firmament. It is, according to the Talmud, the second heaven, and the Talmud says of this heaven, it is, quote, it is that in which the sun, moon, and stars and constellations are set. We read in Genesis 1, 6 through 8, and Elohim said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And Elohim made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which are above the firmament, and it was so. And Elohim called the firmament heaven, and there was evening and there was morning, a second day. Now, according to I won't say ancient, but the classic Hebrew commentator Rashbam tended to gravitate towards very literal renderings or very literal understandings. His understanding was, he said, the Hebrew noun Rakia is derived from a passive verb. A firmament is something that has been firmed up. Rashbam imagined that this was a solid expanse stretching from east to west and north to south. However, Philo of Alexandria, who lived in the 1st century, had a much better understanding of why it was called firmament. In his book On Creation, section 36, he says the incorporeal world was then already completed, having its seat in the divine reason, and the world, perceptible by the external senses, was made on the model of it. And the first portion of it, being also the most excellent of all made by the Creator, was the heaven, which he truly called the firmament, as being corporeal. For the body is by nature firm, inasmuch as it is divisible into 3 parts. And what other idea of solidity and of body can there be, except that it is something which may be measured in every direction? Therefore, he very naturally, contrasting that which was perceptible to the external senses and the corporeal, that which was perceptible only by the intellect and incorporeal, called this the firmament. So Philo is saying that it was called the firmament because it was the first thing corporeal created in reality. In other words, before that, these things, all things existed in the mind of Elohim as an idea, as a spiritual concept that could only be perceived by the mind, but not by the senses. We couldn't see them; they weren't there in the world. The world wasn't there. Okay, and that this was the first real corporeal thing created, and it's corporeal because you can measure its length, width, and height. In other words, it stretches out. It's called the firmament because it's spread out. It's spread out in the 3 dimensions of space. That's Philo's position. It's also the position of the classic the classic commentator Ramban, or Nachmanides. He says, and I quote, God did not name heaven Shemayim until the second day, when he had clothed it in the form of a firmament, though it had already been created on the first day. So the heavens had only been created in an incorporeal spiritual form in verse 1, but now this is called a firmament because the incorporeal idea of the heavens became a corporeal reality on the second day. That is to say, the idea and blueprint of the heavens in the mind of Elohim became an external reality with the creation of the firmament. It was called firmament because it was the first corporeal creation. Now, we can go further than that now in modern times and see the beauty of the revelation that is in the Torah, in that it calls this universe, this what we would call today outer space, the sky, in which the sun, moon, and stars are set. Okay, it calls it a firmament or a rakia, something that's spread out, because it's spread out in all directions, but it also implies something that's firmed up, that's corporeal. And in fact, we now know some things about space, empty space, that we never knew before. One of the things we know about empty space now that we didn't know then, but that Elohim knew, and therefore uses the word rakia or firmament to describe the outer space in which the sun, moon, and stars are set, is that we now know from Einstein's relativity that the space-time is in fact has structure. It is warped by gravitational forces, and that the very fact that it can be warped, and also we've recently been able to detect gravitational waves, and space is the conduit for these gravitational waves, just like the ocean is the conduit for the waves and that go, ocean waves in the water, and air is the conduit for sound waves. Okay, the space is the conduit for these gravitational waves. All right, so space has structure according to relativity. It can be warped and twisted, and it can conduct gravitational waves like air can conduct sound waves. Another thing we know about empty space that we didn't know in those days, in ancient times, is that empty space is never really empty. Space is filled with quantum fields, and these quantum fields are always teeming with virtual particles. So no matter how empty a space is, it's always teeming with virtual particles. And there's something called the Casimir effect, and an experiment that can be done where two metal plates are put together very closely together. And yet, because of the virtual particles that will bubble into existence, if you will, in and out of existence between them, they will actually push apart. So outer space has structure. It can be warped by gravitational fields. It conducts gravitational waves, and it's never truly empty. It's always filled and teeming with virtual particles. So the revelation that outer space is called in Hebrew by the Torah, by Elohim, he named it Rakia, something that is spread out and firmed up, is perfectly accurate, because it is corporeal in that it is real. It is not spiritual. It is not only existent in the as an idea. It is corporeal. Okay, it is real. It has length, width, height. It exists in dimensions. It is spread out like a blacksmith would hammer metal, except it's spread out not two-dimensionally, but three-dimensionally. Okay? And it is, so it's spread out, and it is filled with virtual particles teeming in and out of existence. It is corporeal. It is real. It is a firmament. Okay? This does not mean that it is some two-dimensional solid dome over the over a flat Earth. It doesn't mean that. And in fact, the beauty of the word Rakia in expressing things, firmament, and expressing things about the universe and about outer space that we wouldn't really understand until modern times, is a testimony to the fact that the Torah is divine revelation. So I hope this has helped you understand what the word Rakia, firmament, actually means, and what the firmament is. It's outer space. It is stretches out in the three dimensions of space, and in the fourth dimension, frankly, of time. All right. I want to thank you all for your support and ask you to please continue supporting this work. And you can do that by clicking on the donate link in the video description, where you can donate by PayPal, Zelle, or GoFundMe, or just by sending donations by PayPal to donations@wnae.org. Okay. Also, I want to encourage you to like this video, subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and let us know what you think in the comments. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments on this one, and a lot of discussion in the comments. Be sure to participate in the discussion in the comments section, and share this video on social media with your friends, email it to your friends, private message it to your friends, put it in relevant Facebook groups. And until next time, everybody, shalom.